Now that it's November, I want to spend this month highlighting a lot of the stories that I feel grateful for, and with how much I talk about film, I want to take a break from the usual film format and pick stories from different formats. In this video for the Borealis company, we're going to take a look at the first book to be looked at on the channel, and its wonderful commentary on self-discovery, The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. Keep in mind too, it has been a while since I've read the book cover to cover, but I've brushed up on a few points just for this video. So, if I get a couple things wrong, please forgive me. First, let's take a look at the story itself. The Alchemist follows the story of Santiago, a shepherd boy from Andalusia, roughly in Spain, if not in Spain already, who has a dream to pursue treasure which, thanks to a fortune teller, is concluded to be treasures in the pyramids of Egypt. The rest of the story is simply him exploring the world and traveling along the way until he reaches Egypt to find the treasure. Truthfully, I think it'd be naive of me to say that this narrative was groundbreaking with its story structure, because this is certainly nothing new. Especially because the book was published in 1988, which surprised me to learn that this is a book that was newer than I thought it was. But it's very much a coming-of-age story that is significantly more uplifting than coming-of-age stories that I can think of before it. Not to say that The Alchemist was the first positive coming-of-age story. I'm sure there are plenty of other ones that somebody more literarily inclined can think of. Point proven. But when you look at a character like, for example, Jim Hawkins from Treasure Island, which I'm gonna argue here is kind of a coming-of-age story, it acts less like an opportunity to partake in more knowledge that can improve your actions and your outlook, and more like a cautionary tale of what happens when you leave not necessarily your nest, but rather your tribe, your world that you're familiar with and are safe in. And if you look at a story like that, and then you look at another coming-of-age story, like Dr. Seuss's Oh, the Places You'll Go, which is a metaphor for all the potential you have when you strike out on your own or graduate college, which, funny enough, was actually published 2 years after The Alchemist, you begin to notice this modernizing identity of coming-of-age stories, where it's less of a warning of what happens when you strike out on your own, and more like thinking of all the things you can become and how wonderful the experiences you find will be. Now, is it a hasty generalization to make this claim based on 3 books? You bet your ass it is. But it was something I found worth entertaining, especially when you think about the impact of Coelho's story and the depth that it brought, rather than all the sights that have been seen because he stepped outside of his comfort zone. This story and The Man with a Thousand Faces, I feel like, are in this kind of conversation quite a bit, and I wonder if there is a very, very strategic, even spiritual reason why that's the case. Keep in mind, too, you see character traits and archetypes like these all over the place. Instead of Jim Hawkins, it might be Norman Ellison in Fury, or instead of Oh, the Places You'll Go, you might find these messages and these life lessons in Jim Carrey's commencement speech from 2014. The Alchemist just packaged it in a way, I believe, that made a journey of finding yourself so much more internal than what it could be. Secondly, as if I haven't talked about it enough, let's look at the theme of self-discovery and where the details for that are. I've talked about this quite a bit with someone with whom I've had one of my oldest friendships with. But we've particularly talked about who you become when you travel. He, who has been around the world and back 1,000 times at this point, is always intrigued on traveling because he believes that different cultures and experiences require you to become someone new, or, to put it in another way, act in a way that you never could at home, and as a result, discover more of yourself. Maybe in a sense, the more different the experience from your normal ones, the greater the change. Or, to put it in Coelho's words, whenever he saw the sea or a fire, he fell silent, impressed by their elemental force. I've learned things from the sheep, and I've learned from crystal, he thought. I can learn something from the desert too. It seems old and wise. And he's not the only one to make that claim, joining the ranks of seasoned travelers like the travel psychologist. And while I haven't been outside the country, which will change before I'm 30 as God is my witness, I can confirm that in my own in-state travels, I have felt like a different person during and after EFY church camps when I was a Mormon teenager. And I felt like a different person during and after Wasteland Weekend when I was an ex-Mormon adult. All that to say, even if you go out of your way to find a journey you could advertise as incredible on social media, you discover what you choose to do in circumstances that are completely novel to you. Which is why the Alchemist is so powerful. Santiago doesn't necessarily find the treasure. Rather, the real treasure was learning who he really is, and the journey was that unique catalyst to break those barriers and reach that level of understanding. It's a more developmental, I would say, version of wherever you go, there you are. Sound campy? Well, that'll be a good segue into the next part. When I was brushing up on this book for this video, I saw that the New York Times has argued that The Alchemist is more self-help than literature. And I suppose that as much as I don't like that answer, I understand the logic, since I feel that way about The Richest Man in Babylon, which feels less like a story to me and more like Aesop's financial advice. Although, the advice is pretty timeless. All that to say, does The Alchemist have any narrative value, or is it just a 163-page agenda of a message that some would say is overplayed? Not to sound like a snob, but if it was written less diligently, I would argue that, yes, it would be an agenda. But when I read it for the first time, there was always one line that stayed with me years after I read it. And it's this line that makes me believe that it's a powerful narrative rather than just self-help. I couldn't have found God in the seminary. Now, I may be making a mountain out of a molehill, but I love the internalization that comes with this line. And I believe that this line was written too deliberately to brush the story off as just self-help fluff, at least in the same way that we see it today in the form of gurus and alpha male retreats. People devote their entire lives to stationing themselves in a place of worship to develop a closer relationship to their deity of worship. To imply that you can't find that in a location designed for that very thing, or at least not to the full extent, just broadens the picture that to me feels so much more than what we normally hear. Maybe even a true self-help narrative. Yes, people will help you along the way, and yes, people will negatively influence your journey like the thief Santiago comes across when he finally gets to Egypt. But you have to be the one to say, I'm doing this. You have to be the one to pursue what feels right. And you have to be the one to find solutions to problems that are happening to you and only you. And that's true regardless of geography. No level of buying online courses or sleeping to binaural beats and somebody reciting affirmations to you that don't mean that much to you can compare to discovering who you are when you're placed in unique situations and the empowerment that comes with that. Trust me, I know from personal experience. But when that's such a scary unknown, a lot of people, myself included, and especially, need stories to support them and that belief that it is possible for the better. Which is why I'm grateful for Paulo Coelho's The Alchemist. Thanks for watching, everybody. Feel free to subscribe if you feel like it's a good fit for you, and let me know in the comments what story you're grateful for. Have you read The Alchemist? What other books or coming-of-age stories do you want me to cover? Feel free to let me know, and I can't wait to share the next story that I'm grateful for with you. Till next time, do something you're grateful for.